Rust is an excellent survival game, and its success in early access has inspired a huge number of other creators to enter the survival genre. Given that randomly created landscapes present a fresh experience with each server, it notably conveys the sense of curiosity and anxiety associated with roaming alone. While the thrill of not being able to trust anyone is fun at first, knowing that everyone wants to kill you, even when they don't have to, grows old fast. The majority of Rust official and community servers often wipe, with weekly, bi-weekly, and monthly wipes being the most popular. This is to guarantee that no single player or group of players gets excessively powerful. Rust requires a massive time commitment for those who wish to be more than prey for high-end players. And solo players who are not willing to invest upward of 5 hours each day will struggle to remain competitive on official servers. While this level of commitment is possible, and many solo players have run rings around groups of inexperienced players, Rust is meant to be played with others. And solo players will frequently find themselves the target of clans who have no qualms in destroying the hard work of a solo player just for the fun of it. Rust's community might sometimes offer glimmers of hope, but it's fleeting. Every so often, you can witness players making amicable agreements to trade or stumble upon a shop that needs to be both stocked and protected by players. Rust's mixture of trigger-happy players and often toxic in-game chats make the entire experience profusely unwelcoming and unpleasant. Rust utilizes a hybrid monetization model that revolves around the sale of cosmetic skins and item bundles, which allow players to craft DLC-exclusive items that offer no competitive advantage, such as swimming pools, instant cameras, megaphones, and pianos. For those prepared to put up with its myriad of technical problems, monotony, and nasty player behavior, Rust offers substantial benefits. It only takes a few hours to realize that while Sons of the Forest is by no means easy, it does take a lot of pain out of the usual survival treadmill. No punching tree trunks to get crafting resources, no scrabbling around for a sustainable food and water supply. If you're smart about it, you can avoid death from the beginning. This leaves you free to focus on all the fun stuff, building pointlessly elaborate tree houses, poking cannibals with sharpened sticks, and running screaming from shadowy caves full of monsters you really weren't ready to take on yet. As you wander the island, you'll no doubt meet the locals. Like the forest, they seem to belong to different factions with different motives, tactics, and physical characteristics. Without spoiling anything, it'll be up to you to discover which cannibal faction presents the most significant threat and how best to deal with each. Enemies will scamper up trees, hide in bushes, or watch you from a distance before walking up calmly to take a swing at you. The actual fighting in Sons of the Forest feels pretty good. Hitboxes can be strange, and movement feels clunky sometimes. It makes battles chaotic and frantic. It somehow more realistically emulates how a scenario like this might play out, and makes every encounter tense and startling. The game gives you plenty of different weapons to experiment with, many of which you will find through exploration, but some of which you can craft yourself. This makes combat feel varied, and when it gets a little stale, you find a new toy to play with. There's a strong horror element to these deeper explorations as well, especially right at the start when you only have a plasma lighter that gives out an eerie purple glow. When you're in a cave area and shut off from the outside world, suddenly what you've brought with you becomes essential. Every dark corner is a threat you might not have the right gear for, and the abundance with which you can stockpile things can be quickly contrasted by the speed you burn through it all. Base building is the main underpinning of the gameplay loop in Sons of the Forest. As you accumulate resources, you'll need a place to store them and to sleep through the night safely. N-Night has curated a surprisingly open-ended building mechanic that lets you live out your remote island log cabin fantasies. Sons of the Forest is more than a worthy sequel to what is one of the best survival horror games ever made. It keeps what was great about the first, while adding just enough to keep veteran players interested and new players excited. Fallout 76 has been significantly improved. The developers Bethesda, in collaboration with ZeniMax, have given new life to the game. The developers listened to the fans' ideas and decided to make significant changes to this video game. The breakthrough came when Bethesda decided to release a free upgrade. This version of the game was called Fallout 76 Wastelanders. Fallout 76 brings a lot of fun elements of the series back, while also introducing a few gems like the wild and wacky mutation system. New paradigms like expeditions, public events, and daily ops bring elements of daily replayability once you have completed the game's main story. Another aspect of Fallout 76's online format that adds to its appeal is the inclusion of survival elements. In this post-apocalyptic world, resources are scarce, and survival is a constant challenge. Players must manage their hunger, thirst, and radiation levels while also fending off hostile creatures and other players. This survival aspect adds a level of tension and excitement to the gameplay. Every decision matters, and the need to scavenge for supplies and defend oneself creates a sense of urgency. It also encourages players to strategize and work together to overcome these challenges, further enhancing the cooperative aspect of the game. For players just getting started, the main quest should take several hours to complete. Finishing every achievement in the game will run you about 100 to 130 hours. Some side quests are definitely better than others, especially if you dislike fetch missions, so don't expect to enjoy every last quest. Bethesda has continued to expand the game's storyline with additional story expansions. These expansions introduce new areas to explore, unique characters to meet, and compelling quests to undertake. The developers have made efforts to create engaging narratives that expand upon the lore of the Fallout universe and provide players with compelling reasons to keep exploring the wasteland. However, the most rewarding content involves daily and weekly activities, which include acquiring legendary modules and cores to imbue your weapons with legendary perks. Daily ops and expeditions should take you about 1 to 2 hours per day to complete, depending on your group. Factoring in the time it takes to sell off unwanted gear and take advantage of the daily vendor currency resets, you can expect to play for 7 to 10 hours a week if you're looking to maximize your efficiency. Another significant addition to Fallout 76 is the introduction of seasons. Inspired by other successful online games, seasons provide players with a new way to earn rewards and engage with the game's content. Each season offers a unique theme and a progression system with various challenges and rewards. This addition has injected a fresh sense of excitement and replayability into the game, keeping players engaged and motivated. Fallout 76 has improved since its first release. Sure, it's not a perfect game, but playing it now can be enjoyable. For this reason, I recommend it to all those who want to try it for the first time. It can be the right game for those who love online RPGs and want to explore the wastelands. DayZ is one of the most in-depth, community-driven survival games out there. Equipped with nothing more than a glow stick, a piece of fruit, a bandage, and the clothes on your back, you'll need to scavenge, evade, and survive. Your enemies are the zombies you'll face in the wilds, as well as the bandits, raiders, and cannibals of other players. Despite being declared dead multiple times during its prolonged stay in early access, DayZ has proved its critics wrong by becoming the definitive zombie survival experience that it always claimed to be. DayZ standalone has a massive mod community with over 20.000 mods being released onto the Steam Workshop until 2022, ensuring that players who grow tired of the vanilla experience can hop onto a server with game-changing modifications to experience DayZ in a whole new light. Despite players being thrust into a world filled with bloodthirsty zombies, wild animals, and homicidal survivors, new players are far more likely to die of hunger or thirst than actual combat, with the average player dying and respawning up to 10 times before learning routes that contain enough food and water to keep themselves alive. While many survival games boast of being difficult, and some such as Ark Survival Evolved and Rust are surprisingly difficult, food and water are never that difficult to come by. And even an inexperienced player will find enough wild berries or pumpkins to survive long enough to find more sustainable food sources, something that often not possible in DayZ where food is scarce, and players have been known to kill each other over a single apple. DayZ is one of the only games where you felt genuine concern upon encountering another player. While the shadowy figure looting the next-door warehouse could be friendly, they could also kill you for the loot in your backpack. DayZ might not aim for realism, but it is dedicated towards an authentic sense of discombobulation, fear of one's fellow man, and desperation. Unlike most survival games, there is a decent plot to follow for players who wish to play without the company of others. And while it falls short of being a rich narrative, following in the path of those who come before you and interacting with important NPCs and enemies gives players something to do beyond farming materials and raiding NPC camps. Conan Exiles manages to balance mature content with engaging gameplay in a way that most adult-focused titles have been unable to replicate. While many survival games have nude mods created shortly after launch, Conan Exiles is one of the only games to embrace nudity fully. The Conan Exiles modding community have created hundreds of quality-of-life modifications, such as the outstanding server management tool Pippi, which has allowed server owners to create quests, cinematics, dungeons, and more for their communities in Fashionist, which offers players a fully functional transmog system, perfect for the barbarian who likes to look their best while slaughtering foes and enslaving the locals. The secret to Conan Exiles' longevity is the diversity of the player base, from builders to dungeon runners and hardcore PvPers to causal role players. Conan Exiles appeals to a wide demographic, and if not for its mature content, would have something to offer the entire survival community. While a survival game at its core, Conan Exiles borrows heavily from the MMORPG genre by incorporating elements commonplace in the genre, such as world bosses, PvE dungeons, boss mechanics, and dungeon-specific loot drops. As of June 2023, Conan Exiles offers players 10 primary dungeons to explore, each with unique loot and learnable feats that can be found nowhere else. While these dungeons can be defeated solo by over-leveled players, they serve as a great way to meet other players by encouraging grouping in the open world, to secure the converted materials and items within. In 2022, Conan Exiles moved away from a DLC monetization model to a Battle Pass model with seasonal updates and a mostly cosmetic cash shop. Regardless of how you choose to play Valheim, it is a fantastic survival crafting experience that is more than worth its cost for the potentially hundreds of hours you could spend in its world. And it will only get better with time. When you land on your own personal procedurally generated Valheim world, you are completely defenseless. No clothes, no weapons. All you have are your fists and a limited pool of stamina to defend yourself from aggressive animals. Your first order of business is punching trees until they explode and gathering up some rocks so you have the bare essential resources you'll need to begin your crafting journey. Overall, Valheim is simple and atmospheric. With 6 bosses scattered around the world to give you a sense of progression, there is always a goal to work towards. As a survival crafting game, though, you can take your time, get distracted, and make giant structures worthy of a true Viking. Valheim's building mechanic has just enough depth from what I've seen, with a host of different pieces that fit together Lego style and can be arranged and placed however you see fit. And the game doesn't go out of its way to tell you how everything works and what exactly you need to be doing. But learning how to take down trolls, developing tactics to deal with mobs, and building out your humble home base into a compound that has all of the smelting, forging, crafting, and storage functions you need is the best part of Valheim. Something that makes Valheim so special is that it has so many features and functions that each player will find something they like and latch onto it. You can play the game as a solo experience, but it is actually designed to be played co-op with up to 10 players on a server. And with a group that size, you could have players who stay back and build out villages, some who go and gather resources, and others who serve as warriors and fight mobs, while others establish safe routes to transport goods. Many games claim to have this, but Valheim really does have something for everybody. The game has hundreds of hours worth of content, delivered to you in a cozy world lit by campfires. The cozy vibes are reinforced by the relentlessly relaxing and atmospheric music that plays even when you are in danger. No Man's Sky has undergone a remarkable transformation since its initial release, evolving into a living, breathing universe filled with an abundance of new content and exciting gameplay opportunities. The dedication of its developers to continuously expand and enhance the game is truly commendable. The developers' continual commitment to expanding the game displays their devotion to providing a constantly developing universe for players to immerse themselves in. The core gameplay remains mostly unchanged. You take on the role of an amnesiac space traveler who awakens on an unknown planet with a broken ship. And then, once you've worked it out, you're free to interact with the cosmos as you see fit. Maybe you'll follow a cryptic trail of clues that leads to a remarkably detailed story. Or maybe you'll spend the next 200 hours hauling circuit boards and quantum accelerators back and forth. No Man's Sky is not a game with an endpoint. You're given the primary goal of reaching the center of the universe, though. Without spoiling it directly, this becomes a recurring goal. Even reaching the center for the first time has no guaranteed route. Every planet will give you its own challenges when it comes to refueling your ships and life support systems. And the experience will be unique to each player due to the procedural nature of the game. Expeditions operate as a separate game mode with their own save and offer a more curated experience. These put players at a specific point in the universe and give them tasks to complete as a community. They're limited time events, so they require you to invest your time while they're active. The tasks can vary wildly. If it's simply exploring a planet, it may take you an hour or two. If it's traveling across the galaxy, it could take hours or days. No Man's Sky provides a comprehensive experience of the vast universe that other games just do not offer. The title definitely has something for everyone, whether you fancy farming, fighting, or just completing missions. No Man's Sky is a testament to the game industry's potential for growth and reinvention, demonstrating that even the most ambitious goals can be achieved with passion and effort. Ark offers multiple vast open worlds, from a paradise island to an inhabitable radioactive world. Each world gives you unlimited freedom to build, tame dinosaurs, and explore at your own pace. Forming tribes and surviving together with friends makes the experience even more enjoyable. You'll feel right at home when you've played Conan Exiles. Ark is very similar, with the biggest difference the presence of dinosaurs. The survival aspects are roughly the same in both games, where the menus are a bit friendlier in Conan. And where you can ride a horse in Conan, you can ride practically every dino in Ark, even the flying ones. The gameplay can be a double-edged sword. While the open-ended nature is exciting, the learning curve is very steep. The amount of updates and expansions to Ark has meant there's an overwhelming amount of things to do. While Ark sells itself as a survival game between dinosaurs, the actual story is much more sci-fi. Each world is like a level in which you have to beat some bosses. The road to beating these bosses is super hard and requires a lot of preparation, grinding, and dedication. When you die, all your gear and items are dropped in a package next to your body. This means you can retrieve your stuff, but most of the times the cause of your death is still around. Also, if you don't have a spawn point, you get spawned in a random location some distance away from your dropped gear. This makes it really hard to get a solid start in the game. In conclusion, Ark Survival Evolved delivers a remarkable and wild experience. The game's abundant freedom, vast world, and intriguing storyline make it a must-play for survival enthusiasts. However, it's not without its challenges, as the steep learning curve and punishing gameplay can be daunting for newcomers. Additionally, the occasional lag on servers may disrupt the otherwise immersive experience. When players first load into Raft, they find themselves on a singular block of wood floating in a seemingly endless body of water. Equipped with only a plastic hook, players will have to gather resources in order to keep themselves alive and build a shelter, a raft. As time goes on, you'll have to maintain your hunger and thirst meters. If either reaches zero, you'll slowly start to lose health. While the player is always surrounded by water, quenching your thirst isn't as simple as scooping up some ocean water and taking a sip. You'll have to build a purifier to make it suitable for consumption. As for food, the game provides an array of options, from farming to fishing and hunting. Early on, the vast majority of your time is spent desperately juggling to maintain your hunger and thirst as they deplete rather quickly. That said, you eventually settle into a comfortable rhythm and that's when the fun begins. While the Raft is incredibly open-ended, there actually is a narrative, slowly unraveling as players explore. The ocean is dotted with islands to discover, both large and small. Some of these feature notes about the world and the events leading up to the start of your game. There are even NPC characters to meet that you can unlock as playable characters. Islands also serve as another place to stop and gather resources. Once you've dropped your anchor, you're free to see what islands have to offer. There are trees to chop down, trading posts where you can acquire new items, and the surrounding waters usually include clay, metal, and copper ore, which are key crafting components. Raft is one of the most charming survival games I've played. Simply standing on your raft as it floats over the waves through an endless body of water is truly relaxing. There's also a great sense of pride and achievement that comes with seeing what you have built every time you load the game. It's an easy recommendation for survival fans that may have been holding off on jumping into early access, as well as those just learning about the game for the first time. Grounded is a delightful mix of harsh survival and warm-hearted design. It is a survival game within a fresh environment. This game is a survival sandbox that feels considerably more playful and welcoming than most, which is why its occasional pivots to arachnid horror are so effective. All of the garden's inhabitants have their own patterns and peculiarities. Red ants, for instance, are peaceful but inquisitive when first encountered. They'll fight other bugs, but if you leave them alone, they'll not get in your way. If you invade their nest, however, the soldier ants will try to drive you out. And if you start doing some aggressive garden maintenance by squashing lots of friendly ants, they might even declare war and try to chase you out of the garden. Crafting and construction benefit greatly from the creative setting. Even though you're often making familiar items like swords, chests, and walls, every single object reinforces the fact that you're pocket-sized. So instead of making a sword with steel, you'll need to hunt down a deadly mosquito and harvest its proboscis. Tangoing with a flying monster who could potentially kill you with a couple of jabs is just a bit more thrilling than mining and smelting ore. Since Grounded runs on cartoon logic, that mosquito sword will also heal you by stealing the blood of your enemies. It can be tempting to focus on perfecting your safe, comfy base, but there's always something nudging you out the door, whether it's the need for food and water or a new recipe demanding rare resources. What you need might be in an unknown area, and Grounded seems to delight in giving you shopping lists full of things you're probably not equipped to find, usually in the form of a limb from a bug that will squash you in seconds. Over the past 2 years, Grounded has cemented itself as one of the best survival games around, with a gorgeous world that's teeming with life. That puts you in great danger, as the massive insects stomping around pose a rather substantial threat. But surviving their attacks and scavenging for materials is a fruitful endeavor. As you make your way through Grounded's biomes, swimming to the depths of the koi pond, or escaping infected bugs in the haze, you'll uncover new items that push you even further into this mystery and give survival a purpose. Even if you'd rather sit around and focus on making a cozy home, Grounded's reactive world means that it won't be long until the creepiest crawlies come knocking. It really does feel like you're just surviving in their world, and doing so is a constantly rewarding experience that I adore.